We're on Lake Stevens, just launched, and it's a real nice launch. Access is pretty easy. You do need a Discover Pass and or pay for a city permit. The lake is crystal clear. Looks like we have some significant vegetation, so that's good. The fish have someplace to hide. Yeah, overall the lake just appears to be really fishy. I have seen on the bottom of the lake, in the 150 feet that I've moved from the launch, I've seen 2 Senkos sitting in the bottom of the lake. So yeah, I imagine it gets quite a bit of pressure being like right in a small city like this. But it's a pretty good sized lake, so we should be able to find some fish that haven't been completely harassed. So hopefully that's what we can do. I got a top water on. That's what we're going to fish for the first hour or so here, and see what we can catch. All right, come on along. It's going to be a great time. Like most waterways, we have a lot of very friendly ducks. Somebody's been feeding them. Look at them. I just pointed at them. They're all swimming this way. And we got one mallard here that is white. And I don't know if that was a domestic duck that got released or if that's just a freak of nature. But
well, this pre-fish session was a bit of a bust, and rather than make you guys sit through all of the time of me fishing and not catching anything, I'm just going to run through the lures and how I presented them and whether or not they caught fish. And then we'll actually show the footage of me catching fish, the few fish that I did catch. First up is this weedless topwater, and I fished this pretty much anywhere that you would fish a frog, and on some mats, some emergent vegetation, even open water. Got no bites. Fished this 3-inch paddle tail over weed beds, through weed beds, on ledges, in rocky areas. I didn't get any bites. I fished the drop shot a lot. The only thing I got any kind of bites on was perch, and that was on a green robo worm. I fished this in weeds, on weed edges, in open deep water, in bait balls, everywhere, and got no bass. I did fish around docks quite a bit, mostly with the wacky worm, some drop shot, some paddle tail, but wacky worm, no bites. I also fished this whisker worm, which I make out of broken Senkos, and it'll work pretty much wherever you fish a Senko, and it's a bait profile that the fish haven't seen a lot of, so often it catches fish. Not today. I fished this chatter minnow, and it fishes like a paddle tail with a little bit more flash, a little bit more nervous energy. It didn't help. I didn't catch any bass with it. I also fished this Texas rig worm, multiple different weed scenarios, at the bottom of weed edges, slow, fast, nothing helped, didn't get any bites. A lure that's often touted as being really good in the summertime is a jig, and I fished a jig a lot because I like to jig fish, and all sorts of different scenarios, weed edges, deep water, through weeds, different speeds. Nothing helped. I'm surprised. I didn't get any bites at all on a jig, other than perch tearing it apart once in a while. I even tried a much smaller finesse style jig and ran through all the same scenarios again, and again, no bites. Most of you know already that I like to troll between spots. So when I'm looking for different areas that I want to fish, I will troll between them. And in this case, I'm using this little guy. This is a crankbait. He's a sort of like a flicker shad imitation. I've also heard people refer to it as a similar to a Rapala shad wrap. And it has a real fast action, and it runs probably 12 to 15 feet deep, depending on the weight of line that you're using. So because of that depth that they run, I use this lure a lot. The fish are usually on the bottom or suspended 4 or 5 feet off the bottom. And they're, with these water temperatures, they're willing to go chase anything. And so, typically. And so, this guy is right in the strike zone a lot of the time. And it's one of the reasons why it's my go-to. Because of its smaller profile, it does catch a lot of smaller fish, including those annoying perch. If you up your speed to about 2.2 miles an hour, a lot of times you can avoid the perch. The big ones still will catch it and eat it, but yeah. And maybe I will get this fish unhooked at some point. But because when I'm trolling, it is such an effective lure, it is the one that I often reach for to start with. I did mention that it catches really small fish, didn't I?
You want to talk about an ambitious fish? Look at the size of this fish in comparison to the lure. What were you going to do with it, dude? You thought you were going to eat that? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. Sit still. Okay. Ready? Here you go.
Well, I wasn't exactly knocking them dead with that go-to crankbait. And so I figured, well, I better change it up. I'm in a section of the lake that's relatively shallow. The weeds are coming up, I don't know, about somewhere between 6 and 7 feet from the surface. And I have this little guy here, which I call my favorite lure ever. He runs somewhere between 2 and 5 feet. I thought, well, I ought to be able to troll this one above the weeds and see if I can catch any fish that are willing to bite that are down in those weeds. Now, it's a really small profile lure, and so I don't fish it for bass very much, but because of the depth that it runs, this seems like it's the perfect lure. So yeah, I tied it on. We'll see what happens. I've tied everything else on, so might as well put this one on there too.
Oh boy. This is tough fishing. Unlike a Soyuz where everything caught fish, here nothing's catching fish, not even perch. Kind of difficult, man. Difficult. And I'm going over like huge schools of bait fish and perch and all sorts of stuff, but no baity bites. Ooh, fish. That's a good fish. Oh, wow. I don't know what it is, but it's a good fish. I mean, it's a good sized fish. Oh, don't jump, dude. I'd rather not lose you. Right after I started complaining about how sucky the fishing was, I catch a fish. It looks like a smallmouth. 15 inches or so, I would guess.
Wow, what a tough day of fishing. But I caught this keeper, and that ought to be worth a like. Please click the like button. Thank you.
Oh, bigger, much bigger. And that was not hooked very well. It's a good thing he didn't jump. Let's see here. I would say 16, 17 incher. That's a nice fish. Yeah, now you know why that lure is my favorite lure. I always say it's my favorite lure because I catch a lot of fish on it. I was fishing more in the 15 to 18 feet because I was using a diving lure, and this guy just must have the right profile because that's what I caught him on. And I was trolling in about 8-10 feet of water, so much shallower, and a lot of weeds in this general area. So that little bugger was in here looking for something to eat, and we gave him something. Well, let's see if that's a pattern. Hopefully it is, because I need something to do when I come up here for the tournament.
Well, my favorite bait was a bust. I only caught that one fish, and I trailed it for a bit. So I switched up to this, and this is a lure that I often switch to when it's tough going because it'll catch fish when the other ones won't for some odd reason. I think it's because it has a real nice serpentine action, and it really brings the fish in. And I did catch a lot more fish on this. They were just all small and or perch.
It appears as if we have another fish on. Not quite as big as the other one, but I keep her. I don't know, it's growing some shoulders as we're getting closer here. No, not very big. Good fighter though. Summertime fish really fight. Whew. Believe that would be like an 8-incher. That might have been a keeper a couple years ago, but not now. Nice looking fish though. Get out of here, buddy. You know, it's real hard for me to catch bigger fish if you jackasses keep getting on the line. You done? Okay. Certainly does feel like it's a smallmouth, and it's staying down like a smallmouth, and it is a smallmouth. Oh gosh, and there's a big one. Just came out from that dock. So now I better pay attention here.
Nope, I did not catch that big bass, and I did throw the kitchen sink at it. So that's it for this first day, and now we're going to move right into the second day, so don't get up and leave your chair, because this next day there's some better fish. Mostly because I had some time to review what happened here on the first day and give it some thought and scheming a little bit, and I came up with some other techniques that I needed to try, and a few things that I thought were going to work, and I just wanted to make sure. Okay, day 2. After I got back from a Soyuz, I gave it some thought, and I said, I think my buddy Chris Williams there, he has the right idea. So I went out and I bought some jerk baits, some blanks. This is one I painted up. And I thought, well, you know, maybe the bigger fish are just looking for a slightly larger profile. And so this is the first thing I tied on, and you can see the action of my rod there. I am trolling it to a certain extent, but I'm imparting a lot more action to it by twitching it and giving it some speed as well. So let's see how this turns out. Now, I hadn't fished this side of the lake before, and so I just figured, well, I'll just troll all the way out on that right-hand side from the boat ramp just to see what I see. And I didn't go but 200 yards, and I got a bite. And yeah, it felt like a pretty decent fish.
Wow, that didn't take long. We caught a nice fish here. Don't, dude. Don't, dude. You're going to get yourself hurt. Shit. Come here, dude. Okay. Oh, you dumbass. Why do you do that? Okay, look at the belly on that one. She's been eating really well. So, I'm quite happy with that fish. Yeah. All right. Out you go. I believe that that was 12 inches.
So I want you guys to notice that I'm wearing a fleece, and in some part of the video I'm also wearing a wool hat. It was quite cold. And you can see there's a bit of chop on the water, and the skies are overcast. So this is not likely to be the conditions that we will see at the tournament. It'll likely be warmer, and the weather forecast has it as being relatively calm and cloud free. So that's a little bit frustrating, but hey, you gotta practice with the days that you got. So I'm out on the water and we're testing this, and I got one fish already, and let's hope we can get another one. So yeah, I didn't go more than 150 yards, and I got another fish on. And this feels like a pretty nice fish. And although this is my audio camera, you don't hear me saying a whole lot or making a whole lot of noise, because there's a guy right there on that same point fishing, and he is only about 50, 60 yards away, and I didn't want him to know that I caught a nice fish. I didn't want him over there pounding them. And it's funny because the Duggars ended up fishing this point almost exclusively. They spent their whole day there. So you guys probably recognize this point. And 2 days earlier, I caught this really, really nice fish here. This is a pretty healthy fish.
Wow. That's funny. I was trying to stay out of that guy's way, and I went out much deeper water, and I caught this guy. Now, I don't know if that's something I'm going to see a lot of or not. Man, that fish is fat. She's been eating. Damn fish. Okay. Listen, stop doing that. Okay.
Surely a fish like that deserves to get the like button pushed. So how about you give me a like, folks? Thank you.
Well, I think I may have found my technique.
Now, I didn't want to pound the fish with that jerkbait. They clearly were taking it. I got both of those fish in the first, 40 minutes of being on the water. So I was switching up a bunch of different lures. I used a square bill for a little bit, and I also used this lure here, which I'm using to catch this fish. It is a homemade lure, and I don't have a lot of confidence in it, but I thought, wow, the fish are biting pretty good. Maybe I'll try this and see if the fish will take it. So I did get a bite here. At least I think I did.
And it's not a little one. Or it's weeds. I mean, I suppose it could be weeds, but nah, it's a fish. Oh yeah, it's a fish. That's another nice fish right there.
I also want to point out that before this fish and after this fish, I spent a lot of time confirming priors, right? Trying to understand what is it that the fish are biting, because they seem to be quite nippy when it came to trolling, but nothing else seemed to work. And I had tried a fluke. I tied on fluke, and I'd spent a lot of time with that because I thought, well, if they're after bait fish, then I should be able to get them to take a fluke. And they just wouldn't bite that fluke. And I also tried the jig again, drop shot, wacky worms, everything that I had tried previously, and I wasn't getting bites on any of it. So I really was convinced at this point that my only legitimate option for catching fish on tournament day was going to be trolling. So that's kind of what I had resolved at this point, but we still have one more day of pre-fishing, so stick around for that. Now, I was in a bit of a conundrum here for this Friday pre-fish. I didn't really see a whole lot of point in going back up there. I struggled so much there that I didn't want to spend any more time on that lake, to be honest with you. But there were a few things that I had not yet tried that I thought, all right, well, let me try. If somebody goes in there and catches, 90 inches on a topwater, I'm going to be pissed. So I thought, all right, well, I can try the topwaters a bit more. And I have some other lures I want to try, and I'll run through those with you, and I'll show you the one fish that I did catch, and then we'll call it a video. I do want you to note that it's relatively clear today with some minor clouds. I got here a little late. You could launch right at sunrise, and obviously we're past that point here, but I'll get a good 3 or 4 hours of fishing in. So at that first point right there on the right coming off the boat ramp, there was bait fish there previously. And there's bait fish there again today, and I can see that there's a lot of fish around them. I don't know for certain whether they're perch, carp, bass, whatever, but I'm going to try throwing a flutter spoon at them. And I'm watching on the live scope for a good portion of this to see if the fish are reacting to that flutter spoon, and they didn't seem to be reacting to it at all, but I thought it was a worthwhile thing to try, so I gave it a whirl. Let's run through some of the other baits I tried on this day. So, like I said, I wanted to try some topwater baits, so I did fish the whopper plopper quite a bit. I fished a hammerhead topwater bait. I had a walking bait that I was using. All of those produced no blow-ups whatsoever. Another thing I tried along with that flutter spoon was a lipless, because I wanted to see if essentially yo-yoing that, like it'll swim down and then you pull it up and it'll vibrate coming up, and then it'll swim back down and vibrate coming up. I thought, well, around those bait balls, that ought to work. It did not. I had some inexpensive jerk baits that I wanted to try because they were really shallow running. They didn't produce anything. I had painted up some medium-sized jerk baits that I wanted to try, and I actually did catch one fish on that. It was a dink, and I'll show you that next. That was pretty much the day. I didn't catch a whole lot, and I did cover a few more extra lures that I hadn't tried before, and I felt pretty confident going into the tournament that the only way I was going to catch fish is to troll. Now, I wouldn't say I felt super confident because it was really, really tough fishing, even trolling. So I was going to be thrilled just to catch a fish, honestly, because the days that I was catching fish was overcast and windy, and tournament day was supposed to be hot and calm and sunny. So we'll see how that goes. All right, folks, that's this video, and the subsequent videos that's coming out is the tournament video, and make sure that you see that. You could subscribe and ring the bell, and that way you'll know when that tournament video comes out. All right, well, thanks. Please give me a like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day.